Hello and welcome. This is the Afro Atheist. Welcome to my channel. This is a place where we challenge beliefs, we challenge ideas, we challenge dogma. A lot of Christian leaders have gone unchallenged. They've been allowed to say things that don't really make sense, and no one thinks, this doesn't add up. There's something wrong with this story. And this video is going to address one of such pastors. This video has over 3 million views on YouTube. It has done really well. But what exactly is this pastor talking about? The pastor said he was married to a witch doctor on the day he was born. Wow. Okay, let's go and react to this video. But before I do so, if you're not subscribed, please make sure you are subscribed. Make sure to turn on that notification bells so that once I upload a video, you'll be the first one to know about it. And please do make sure to give the video a thumbs up. I also want to know, do you believe this story or not? Does this story make sense to you or not? How have pastors been allowed to tell such fables unchallenged? So let's go.
Welcome to Prayer Storm TV. Today we're going to be going into one of the deepest testimonies I have come across as it pertains to deliverance from the occult and witchcraft. And I'm so excited about this testimony. I came across this man in 2017, and this testimony radically impacted my life. Now, I've got a background, I'm half Ghanaian and half Nigerian. And with the kind of background I have, some of you who are watching have similar backgrounds to me. You're probably Nigerian or Ghanaian or African. You would have heard testimonies of people that have been delivered from the occult or had encounters with Jesus and shared of how Jesus delivered them. And I've heard many of these sort of testimonies. However, this one we're about to hear, in my opinion, is one of the most intense and deep I've come across. And I believe God's going to use this testimony to impact you in a significant way. So I wanted to stay to you. Now, our guest today, we actually had to fly him all the way from Uganda to capture this testimony. Because when I heard this many years ago, I was so impacted. I got connected with him and we've been relating for a few years. And the Lord made it possible for us to be able to get him over to Manchester. So for the first time, it's his first time in the UK. And I'm excited that we're going to get to hear from him today. So would you welcome with me, James Kawaya from Uganda. James, it's good to
This man has been flown all the way from Uganda to come and tell this story. It's so impactful. Here we are. He's been flown from Uganda to Manchester to tell this tale. Okay, let's go and hear what the story is all about.
have you in Manchester.
Amen. I thank God that I'm here. And this is my first time to be in the UK, and the timing of the Lord is the best. I know this is the first time also I'm recording my testimony in its fullest. Most have been sharing in different platforms, but this is the first time I'm sitting in a recording to share my life testimony. So I thank God for this opportunity. And oftentimes when I'm sharing my testimony, it's like I'm going back through those experiences. I need a grace. Sometimes the pain returns, the pain of everything I went through. But I thank God that now, after many years now, it's 23 years since I gave my life to Jesus Christ.
Wow.
And the 23 years has been amazing. I have seen the goodness of God. And also, as we start this journey, I want to tell the people that the purpose is to glorify Jesus, not the devil, not what the devil can do or what he has done. But at the end of the day, Jesus is the winner.
Yeah.
So that's why.
So this testimony is to glorify Jesus. Okay, Pastor Kawalia.
I knew the power, I knew Satan, I knew I had been all these kind of powers. But then we were being warned not to be around that man's, where he's in the city. We are having other pastors in the church. We're also running a Christian television station in Uganda, worship television, just for worship and prayer. One of the things the Lord told me to do after encountering Jesus and seeing the power of prayer. By the way, I knew the power of prayer before I became born again. I kept encountering people praying and wondering what kind of lives are they. One example, maybe to bring it out, is I was still in the occult, and I was in the city in Kampala, and I remember I got instruction from our leaders to vacate the city and stay away 70 miles away from the city and remove all our operations, because a man of God was coming in the city. And I remember we were told that if we stay in the city where that man is, his prayer would kill us all convert us. And I remember the instruction was stay out of the city 70 miles away, but also do not enter the city even 21 days after he has left. So I was still in the occult, and I was like, what kind of power is this? Because I knew the power, I knew Satan, I knew I had been all these kind of powers. But then we were being warned not to be around that man's, where he's in the city. So that man was Maurice Cerulo. So he was coming to the city, and I remember
Maurice Cerulo was coming to their city, and he was a member of the occult. His leader says to him, run away. Flee before Maurice Cerulo comes. Stay 70 miles away. and stay away for how many? 21 days? Because his prayers are so powerful. Oh, really? So Maurice Cirulo's prayers are so powerful that you have to run. Okay. Guys, we're just reacting to what we're listening to.
Always we're told, stay out of the city 70 miles away and do not enter the city another 21 days.
Incredible.
Because even after 21 days, his power, the effect of his power remains in the atmosphere after 21 days he has been in the city. So I knew the power of prayer. So when I came to Christ, the Lord was telling me, okay, you have seen the mistakes, the errors, because one of the work I was doing before I came to Christ was fighting churches and breaking churches. And the Lord was saying, now you know how you broke these churches, and you know what were the errors and the mistakes and the weaknesses. So can you train an army of intercessors all over the world to bring out, to stand and take territories?
Wow.
So we are working with nations like Sri Lanka. I work in Sri Lanka, I work in Singapore, I work in Botswana, I work in Gabon, and a few places where we've been doing.
You've been in Europe to a few
in
places
Europe.
as well.
We're having a work in Munich. We're doing a great work in Munich to raise intercessors and train young people to intercede, and then they take over the nations in prayer. So one of my calling, people call me apostle as pastor, but my call is an intercessor. That's
Right.
So I don't know if you can call me intercessor James.
I like that. I like that. So now let's go back to the beginning. What are the earliest memories you have?
My memory, when I was around 3 years, I realized in my home I was living with my mom and my uncle, the brother to my mom, and no one else. It was strange because I was wondering why other people don't come to our home. Later I realized that when I was 3 months old, my father and my sisters left the home and did not return because of the strange things that were happening in the house, in the home. Now I don't know what happened, the strange things. I didn't see it unless when my mother told my story. But when I was 3 years, the event that I can remember is the death of my uncle, when I began my initiation into witchcraft when I was 3 years.
I want us to come back to the death of your uncle, but before we come back to that, can you tell us what happened before you were born? Because this is a really critical part of understanding your journey. Give us an idea of what was going on with your mom and a marriage and her desperation to have a son that laid the foundation for you to come into this world.
So I came to hear this story when I was around 12 years, to hear the story of my birth and why I was strange. Now, by the age of 12, I was already deep in the occult. I had been made a trainer of witches when I was at the age of 9. At the age of 7, I was a territorial witch, in charge of a territory. I had strange power.
He was training witches at the age of 9. He was a territorial witch at the age of 12. Okay, James Kawalia, we are listening.
Powers. People older than my mother could come and bow to me. Politicians, businessmen for powers. So I kept wondering, where did I get all these powers? Why am I strange? But my mother kept taking me to different witch doctors for help to be delivered from those powers. But several times we could go to these places to the witch doctors, and the witch doctors could chase my mother away, claiming that when she takes me to them, I steal their powers. So like even the witches, the sorcerers, the designers, even they hated me because they were, this baby has strange powers. So my mother decided to take me to a man in Pemba. Pemba is in Tanzania, in the Indian Ocean, who was called a Sultan. So in this journey, she said, I'm going to take you to this man, and this man is going to help you. So that's when I asked. I remember we were in Dar es Salaam, we were on the port trying to get a ferry to go to Pemba. And I asked her, Mom, tell me something. Why am I strange? And I could see when I remember I looked at my mother, and like this time she was desperate to tell me and say, please, can you not interfere with where we're going? Can you please don't interfere? So like to convince me not to interfere, my power is the power I had as a boy, for where we're going. So she had to tell me the story of my life, how she ended up in this. So this is what she tells me. She says, when she got married, the reason she married my father, because her father had died, and her father was a rich chief, and she was the only daughter, and she had a brother, my uncle then. And when her father died, she says she knew the family in Africa, most times the family would take over every property. So she needed protection. So by the grace of God, she says, at the time when her father died, and she's desperate, she's just a young lady, then my father started dating her. My father coming from a prominent family, a very known family and very strong, she thought this man, if he marries her, she'll get protection. So she gets into the family. Now, my father also was marrying her because he had been told he would find a young girl, marry early, and get as many children as possible. Because my father, being a son of a chief, son of like a prime minister, he was the only son. The brother had died. He had 7 sisters, the only son. So they were like, now you need to get a woman, get children, and raise a heir for the throne, like the chiefdom. So he marries for the purpose of getting a son. So when she married, my father and my mother married, she gave birth. The first child was a girl. The second child, also a girl. The third child, also a girl. Now, by the 4th child, the entire family, the chiefs, the tribe, they're all like, this woman is a West. Because in my tribe, if you have only girls, they say you don't have children.
Wow.
So they wanted a hair. So in desperation, she tried to.
So yes, this is an African thing. They regard the boy child as being more of better value than the girl child. When a woman has girls, they They're not very happy. The boy will take on his father's name. The legacy continues. So yeah, this is, for some people, this is cultural. And people will go to huge lengths just to try and get themselves a baby boy. So let's hear what his mother did to get him.
She went different witch doctors in different parts of the destination. And so she went, they told her, we'll help you conceive. Then she conceived a fifth child, who was now also a god. She went on different witch doctors, different altars, different and also she conceived again a sixth child, also a god. And she tells me that she was so desperate because she knew if she can't get a son, she will lose the marriage, and now her life will be wasted. Though at the time, she told me that someone told her that there's someone who can help her conceive a son. She had gone to all kinds of altars in Uganda and outside Uganda. She had traveled different parts and gave different sacrifices. She had the money. She could sell her properties to travel different places to help her conceive. So on this particular journey where she went, she was told to go to a forest in Tanzania. There's a place in Tanzania, northern Tanzania. There was a place. So she went there, and she realized that when she arrived at the place, they told her she had to undress and live in the forest for 7 days, going through cleansing.
Wow.
Before she appears before the person to help her. Now, there's something I want us to note here, that was the king of darkness, but they understand the principle of consecration and cleansing. Now I understand that. So they tell her you have to undress.
So she's looking for a boy child. She has to go to this forest for 7 days, live in the forest and no clothes on. Be cleansed before meeting the priestess or priest, whatever this is. And this is consecration. Okay, Pastor, go on. We're listening.
Stay in the forest, cold. Don't eat anything cooked for 7 days. So after the 7 days, you are clean enough to appear before this priest who was going to help her.
Right.
So she says when she appeared after 7 days, that this priest was a woman who always lived in that forest, and she was like the chief witch of the entire continent, because all the witch doctors.
I mean the entire country
of Africa, not continent.
Wait, she was the chief witch of the entire continent of Africa.
Africa.
Wow.
All the witches, all the wizards, all the sorcerers, all the politicians, the leaders could go to her for powers. So she lived in the forest, that woman, that priest, and she had only one breast, like one breast in the middle of the chest.
So all the people that went to her to see her.
The priestess is the one in charge of all the witches in all of Africa. And she has one breast in the middle of the chest. This is 2023, and a grown man is telling this kind of claims. And 3.2 million people have listened to this. Okay, so the priestess, she is the one in charge of all the witches in the entire world of Africa. And she's got a breast in the middle. Okay, let's continue.
Often went through a similar ritual. They have to stay in the forest for 7 days, naked, leaves and
fruits for 7 days. And then after 7 days, you appear before her. That was the ritual. And it was like everyone had to go through that. So there were many people there. So she said when she appeared, when she came to her, she looked at that witch, that priest looked at my mother and said, go away, I will not help you.
Okay.
So she's been in the forest for 7 days. And now she's walking away. She says this. Now, this is what she told me. She said, as she was going away, she looked in the sky and saw a sign, something that told her that she has a son. She doesn't know what told. So she walks back to the place where they register and she tells the police, I want to go and try again. Then they tell her, but also, if you're trying again, you have to go again through another 7 days. Now, the 7 days she went through, and then she went another 7 days, 14 days. Later, I'll be sharing with you, when I was sick, my deliverance, I had to go through the same cycle of being delivered, the 7 days and another 7 days, but now in the church setting. Because I want to tell people that salvation is free, but deliverance is a price of consecration and being set apart. So she says that. So the second time, the next.
Salvation is free, but deliverance is a price. I'm sorry, salvation is not free. It comes at a cost to the believers. You all have to pay your tithe, offering, building fund, whatever fund the pastors are collecting these days. Oh no, your salvation is not free. I am very sorry. Your salvation is not free. These men, you've got to pay. You've got to pay their way through life. So no, salvation is not free.
So for 7 days, she goes to appear. And when the priestess saw her, said, you are back. You are back. Then my mother tells me, said, okay, I'm back, but you need to help me. Then this woman looks at her and says, well, I can help you, but I can see. Now, I don't know what eye they were using. I can see in the spirit, you have a son. But he's very far in the rocks.
He's very far in the rock.
In the rocks. Now that's the statement of the mother. He's far in the rocks. And there is a strange star on him. If I bring him out, he will be a problem to our powers. The only thing I can do, if you can offer sacrifices, but also if you can accept the condition we shall give you. So my mother asked, what sacrifice? They told I have to give 7 cows for 9 months. That is 63 cows as a sacrifice. Then say, okay, I'll do that. No, because we're desperate, she had the means. Then they tell, okay,
7 cows every month for 9 months.
For 9 months. That is 63. So,
okay, so she goes the first time and she's turned away. She goes and tries again. Another 7 days, so 14 days altogether in this forest. Finally, she's in front of the priestess, and the priestess says, I see something. I see son, child. In order for me to bring him into existence, we've got to sacrifice 7 cows every month for 9 months, 63 cows. Okay.
Then the condition was, okay, if you conceive and give birth, and this is a boy, you promise you will offer him to that woman, the princess, as a husband. She didn't know what it means. She didn't know what it meant. First, she didn't know that it was that. And then they told her, okay, when you give birth, you must bring that child to the forest before the end of the first day. In other words, before the sun goes over him. She tells me she didn't know what was involved in. So she left, offered the sacrifice, returned home, she conceived. To her surprise, she gave birth to a boy. Now, the vow was to carry that boy from the city where she gave birth to the forest around 300 and maybe 400 kilometers away from the city. And that is 1975. The transport means was not that good. I don't know how she traveled. So she travels from the city in Kampala to go to fulfill the vow.
Okay.
What shocked her, she tells me, when she arrived at the forest, this time she didn't go through the ritual, but there was like a wedding. Hundreds of people were gathered. They knew she was coming, gathered for what? And she realized it was now going to be the wedding of her 1-day-old son and the 60-year-old woman.
So, for those of you watching, I don't know if you understand what he just said.
So, after that experience, she goes back and is pregnant and does indeed have a boy. But the stipulation is, on the day you have the baby boy, you've got to bring him back to the jungle, to the forest. So on the day she gives birth to James Kawalia, his mom, she's off with the newborn baby back to the forest. But when she gets there, the people are all prepared for a wedding. It's like they knew that she was coming. I hope y'all are still following. This is what people want us to believe. All right. Whoa.
On the day he was born, on the day you were born, you were married to
a 60-year-old witch.
A 60-year-old witch that was the grandmaster witch for the continent of Africa. That is mind-blowing.
And you know what she told me? The wedding.
It's not mind-blowing. I call BS on this story. The whole of Africa, the witch that runs the whole of Africa, wants to be married to a 1-day-old baby. And a mother in her right mind will take this baby, her newborn, to go and be married to a 60-year-old woman. Guys, this story gets weirder. This story gets weirder, and y'all need to hear how weird this story is going to get. And this, don't forget, this is a preacher. This is a pastor. These 2 men are pastors.
Was conducted by the chief, the witches of the continent first, and then the bishop of the diocese also came and conducted the wedding between this 1-day-old boy and a 60-year-old woman in the forest.
Wow.
So, that was also when she told us, are you sure? I said, yes. Bishop so-and-so, which I knew. Let us share how he got involved in my life. And now he moved me from that same bishop, from the witchcraft to the occult, because they're different. So for her, when she reached there, all these people, the celebrations from different parts of the continent had come to the forest for the wedding. Now, according to her, that was the moment where this woman, the witch, was to transfer her powers to the boy, the 1-day-old boy. Now, I was 1 day old, I didn't know what was happening. So after the ritual, after the ceremony, day of celebration, the wedding, the marriage is conducted, the covenant, and all the sacrifices. So they tell her, you know what, now, this child is not just a child. This is now a man. So you're not going to breastfeed him, because now he is somebody's husband already.
Wow.
And she told me that in her mind, she said, well, okay.
A 1 day old is someone's husband because she has transferred her powers to this 1 day old child. So now his mother is told that she must not breastfeed. Listen, guys, just listen.
I'll go home. This will not be there. I have to breastfeed my child. You know, I've suffered. I have done all this. He was treating this child. So she returns home. When she went home, my father said, "Where have you been?" I said, "Okay, and all this and this."
So did your father not know what she was doing?
He didn't know.
He did not know.
Because when she left hospital, she just went village. So my father, "Where's my wife?" She's looking around. So when she appears, "Where have you been?"
So he had no idea that she was this deep in her passion to find a boy or to get a son.
He didn't. The only thing he knew, like my mother could disappear for days, and you know where he has gone. So when she returned home, she says, "I was a baby." She put me in a baby cot in a bed, then go dress up, clean up, and then come and breastfeed the child. Then when she returned, she found a python coiled around the baby. Yeah, python.
Yeah.
And she says she could not come near because of the python. So she ran out. The people of the village came around. My father came around. They could see the snake, and no one could come in.
Could they not kill the snake?
I don't.
She leaves the baby, goes to go and get herself washed and dressed, comes back to breastfeed the child, and a python had wrapped itself around the newborn baby. And everybody was looking at the python, and nobody could get this python off this newborn baby. Okay.
I don't know why. So she says for 30 days, for 3 months, she could not come near me.
So was the python wrapped around you every day, all day, 24/7?
24/7. So she says she didn't breastfeed me. She didn't come near me. And the whole village would come and just peep in, and then there was rumors around. And this woman gave birth to a child and a snake. Now, I heard those rumors when I was growing up. It was the talk of the Tonda community. You know, that child is a twin. They could say he's a twin. He was born with a snake. But my mother.
This man wants you all to believe that for 3 months, a baby had a python wrapped all around it. Reason why? So that the mother does not breastfeed the baby, because the powers of the witch has been transferred into the baby. So my question is, what was the baby feeding on for 3 months? Oh, better still, what was the python feeding on for 3 months? Now that this python has decided, I'm going to wrap myself around this baby. This is what people go and listen to in churches. And this man, the one listening to him, he is mind blown. Guys, what did the baby eat for 3 months? What did the python eat for 3 months? Did the baby take a piss? Was the baby's diaper changed? Guys, this is some BS.
That says no, she didn't give birth to a snake. The snake just came when she came back to the house. Now, I don't understand how this was done. So after 3 months, my father left. Now he picked the 6 girls and left the home. She remained alone. And because of that, my mother got a mental breakdown. So she was not like a mad woman.
Guys, this woman did all of that, sacrifice, stayed in the jungle, met with the chief priestess of all of Africa, so she could have a boy after having 6 girls. So her husband doesn't leave her. Now she has sacrificed her 1 day old baby to this priestess. And guess what? The husband still lives with the 6 girls. She has given 73 cows. Oh, goodness gracious.
In the community. So she's left alone with a child, a demon child, with a brother who was living with her. Now the husband, my father, and the children left, so she's deserted. So by the time I'm three years old, the only person I know is my uncle and my mother, who has no attachment with me. Why? She's mentally disturbed. She always spent all her time alone in the bedroom. There's no way. So as a child, I didn't have any attachment with her. I didn't see my sisters. I didn't meet my father. The only person now I know is my uncle, the young brother of my mother, who was also. I don't know what happened. He was also addicted to alcohol. So he could drink and what. Now, So he tells me, I remember as other three, when he was drinking his alcohol, he could give me, because that's the only thing he had. My mother did not breastfeed me. The husband had left, deserted her. And she tells me that the day my father left, and with my sisters, is the day the snake left also. So when he left, so she remained with his child, but now she was so hard. She was so heartbroken, and then she got into a mental breakdown because of the husband leaving her. She's alone. And so as a child, I'm in that house with only my uncle. Like all the community, the relative.
Guys, the thumbnail of this video says this pastor was married to this chief priestess as a one-day-old baby. So let me understand something. This mother takes her one-day-old baby to go and be married to a chief priestess, but she's looking for a boy child, only for the husband to leave with the 6 girls. All of that for what? I don't believe this story. I really don't. It's a lot of things that don't add up. But a python wrapped around a baby for 3 months. What did the baby eat? What did the python eat? Did the python not have to go somewhere or do something? Did the baby's diapers not need to be changed? What are we doing here? Christians, is this what you all are listening to in the churches? Is this what goes on? Over 3 million views on this, and this video goes on for hours, and already we can see the problems with this video. How does a python wrap itself around a newborn baby for 3 months, and the day her husband leaves is the day the python also leaves? I call BS. Pastor James Kawalia? No. It's time that we start calling out these preachers and pastors who claim to be working on behalf of God. These are the people that lie to their congregations. They lie to the people, and people believe this story. Apparently, this story is for us to somehow give thanks to God. How can I be giving thanks to God for a BS story like this? So, guys, let me know what you think. Do you think that this story is true or not? Let me know what your thoughts are. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.